it's me, Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most horse-powerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the moose, and on our journey today, Halo's got some co-op and some games are coming to Game Pass, and I want to know what you guys think about it, so leave a comment below and jump on into the Xbox Drive. Ball.
Here we go! No power greater than X.
Ryan Turford, the man on the moose. I'm so glad to be talking to you today, man. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. You know, the weather's a little bit partially cloudy outside. It's raining a little bit, but you know what, Sean? You know, it can't rain all the time. As one person from the movie The Crow said once in a song, you know, it can't rain all the time. That's a 1994 movie reference.
Look at you with the 90s references. All right.
The Crow, by the way, very good movie. I really like it.
Very sweet. I'm realizing I've got a sweaty shirt hanging on my door handle right back there for people who are wondering.
You don't want to zoom in just a smidge, so it just cuts it out. Sean.
Just well, I could probably just like kind of kick it off the door handle. I kind of want to show you. I can't get it. I tried to get it.
It's over. You know, you tried it once and you can't get it. So
I pulled a hamstring trying to reach for it.
God world.
I got my Diet Coke, man. Everything is good. McDonald's Canada.
Did you and the family have a fun and safe Canada Day weekend, Sean?
No, the weekend wasn't. No, it wasn't fun at all, man. No, not even a little bit. Sean never stays by the mic. Hey, y'all. Hey, Lachlan. Yeah, I've never. It sounds hilarious to me. I don't know if I'm just being obnoxious about that sort of thing, but I find it hilarious when people move away from the mic to go grab something. Like you did it on a podcast recently. You were grabbing some props and whatnot. You're actually more of a prop master than I am, I think.
Well, I think it's just the nature of me just having a smaller room for being able to easily access different props available. It's
true.
Just like I have, you know, with this book for some reason just sitting on my desk.
Grab mine. I wanted to grab.
I didn't even need to say it because it's sitting right here. My copy of Scott Gets It Together, which we're going to be talking about this book soon, Sean. Like, so I had this just on my desk because we're going to talk about this.
Yes, Ryan.
Oh, you have different covers because again, you've got Wallace on yours and I've got Ramona and Scott on mine.
Oh, that's weird. Usually there's sort of like versions of each other.
Usually they're similar because Envy was on the cover of both of them last month. But
I'm so enjoying this. Oh my god, I don't want spoilers. What am I opening this book
save
for?
That for the Geek Outs show.
Little teaser.
Of course, on patreon.com/carpoolgaming as well.
Indeed.
Well, anyways,
what are we even doing here, man?
Let's just jump into the Xbox Drive and actually talk about Xbox. But before we do that, of course, folks, if you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream right now on youtube.com/carpoolgaming, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And ding, ding, ding. Ring that bell to be notified whenever we go live with any of our new videos or whenever we go with a live stream like this one. And also let us know in the comments below what you think about some of the topics we're talking about today, like Halo, like Game Pass news. We might even talk about Lollipop Chainsaw later. I know Donnie will comment about that at least, so we got that going on. Also, if you're listening on audio feeds, don't forget to rate us if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Don't forget to leave us a Apple Podcast review, and as well, don't forget to subscribe there as well. Also, if you want the show or any of our exclusive content a little bit early, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/carpoolgaming. It's how you do that. Throw a little tip in the old tip jar and out comes content. I know, Sean, you recorded a new episode of the Console War Room last night with Joseph, right?
You know, that is exactly what should have happened, except I got to throw a little shade. He forgot.
Oh no!
I think he was playing Sea of Thieves. So, but you know what? And I'm glad that you brought it up because it's just as well that we didn't record last night because this morning God of War news got announced. There was a whole thing with Nintendo and their new OLED. I can't wait to talk about that with Kato on the Nintendo Drive next week because goodness gracious, there's some opinions flying around about that. But you're right. Console War Room, me and Badbit. It's available on both Patrons, which I think is really cool. You can get it on our Patreon or you can get it on there. It's very cool. And we'll fight like we actually don't like each other, but I'm actually trying to convince them to move to Canada.
At some point, we're going to make it happen. But then,
right.
Last but not least, if you want an Xbox Drive shirt just like Sean's or any other Carpool Gaming merch, head over to our merch store, bit.ly/CPG merch is how you do that. We have merch for all the different shows, as well as just if you want a nice Bobby shirt, you can get one of those as well, because we got cool stuff over there. But anyways, let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It is time for the playlist. We're probably going to keep this one short, Sean, because we talked about a lot of games last week, but I know
I liked it.
I didn't play much, so tell me what you played.
I played Cuphead. I played one level of Cuphead. The Delicious Last Course, which I don't remember who pointed this out, but the acronym Delicious Last Course is DLC, Ryan.
Yeah.
I don't know if like all DLC should be this. They should be titled with words
just
that
like
go DLC.
How, you know, 3DS games or DS games would have like their titles would be like an acronym with like starting with D and then S, like Resident Evil Deadly Silence.
What? That's a thing?
That's a real thing. That's a real game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, real quick on Cuphead. Cuphead is a gorgeous, absolute masterpiece that is way too hard for me, man. I spent an obsessive amount of time on one stage, which is kind of your traditional 3-stage boss. And everybody, I think, has seen the clip on Twitter at this point where I finally thought that I beat the guy. I got a little knockout sign, which having now completed it, I realized that the knockout is a fake out. It doesn't look like the usual knockout screen that you would see. So it fools you. You think you're done. You think you're finished because you've been at this long enough. Of course, this is the end, but a stupid little snail pops up and starts to shoot at you and in the clip that I shared. He's the
real boss, Sean.
He is the real boss. And you know what? Like, this is just, I have so much appreciation, even though it totally trolled me. That snail shows up at the very beginning. It kind of like gives you a wave. So it doesn't come out of nowhere, but mostly comes out of nowhere. And
where you're just not expecting to just die instantly at the victory screen.
I just thought I was done. I just like the knockout was there. Then I got my Mugman kind of just sitting there in his little thing. And I actually think that I just put the controller down and just sighed. I think I was just like, oh, thank goodness. So like, unfortunately, I wasn't streaming or anything like that. So you couldn't really see what I was doing. But I was also glad to know that I'm not the only one who had this exact same experience with this boss.
Yeah.
But just
I saw a couple people tweet about that.
Ains definitely was there. Season game. Yeah. Like it's such a beautiful game. I might have to try. You know what? Now that I talked this through, Ryan, because right before we started going live, I was like, I think I might be done with this. But there is a simple mode that I probably should give a try because I do have a huge appreciation for this. Shout out to the Canadian team, Studio MDHR, for making this. But I was a little bit discouraged because right after finally beating that, which by the way, took me, I think another 45 minutes after that first defeat, it took me another 45 minutes to actually beat it. Just try after try after try. But the next stage that I went to was like a flying one where you're in an airplane, and I think those are even more difficult. So a little bit tricky. Like I said, I might go back on simple mode to give this another try.
That's actually a really good way to do it. I know that when it came out, that's something we actually talked about because we reviewed it over on the Game Moose podcast back when the original Cuphead came out. And I remember that was a big thing that came up in our discussion where it was like, it just seemed like the game was so difficult, but it's such a beautiful game and a fun game to play that you don't want to miss it. So
totally,
it's the type of game where it's totally reasonable to play it on simple mode, I think. Just to experience the whole thing and experience it for yourself. And then as you get better, if you feel more confident, you can then go back and play the normal mode, and then you'll probably be much better at the game now that you kind of know the patterns of some of the bosses through the simple mode.
It's not even like repeatable patterns either. Like they kind of switch things up on you a little bit. And where I really think I need simple mode is I feel like I have to be perfect in order to beat it. Like the screen, the clip that I shared with everybody was me at maximum health at that last stage, which meant that I went through the first 2 phases untouched, completely perfect. I didn't get any better than that. And so I had spent so much time with it at the end that I didn't want to move on to the next stage. I actually just wanted to get a better grade at the end because of course it says like, you know, how much life do you have left and how fast did you do it and all these other factors. You get a school grade, you get an A, B, C, or D. So my first one was like a C- or something. So I clearly wasn't happy with that. And I had realized I've gone through 2/3 of this thing absolutely perfect. And I still want to tweak a little bit at that. I'm not quite ready to walk away from it, except for one very important thing, Ryan. Totally that, unexpected John? For you. I didn't even tell you about this. I did another tournament bracket.
Oh no, it's happening again.
I completed. I listed 64 games that are high candidates for me to complete. And at the very end, I should actually publish this because it's very interesting. In some cases, I didn't know.
Where was our vote? Where was our ability to vote?
There was no time. There was no time. I just decided this is. It seems to be a pretty good like decision mechanism for me, Ryan. I don't know what the hell's the matter with me. So I load up this thing with 64 games that I genuinely like to play any one of these. They all get paired up in a March Madness style tournament bracket for anybody who's new to the community or whatever. And for the system randomly pairs them up. And for some, I know, I definitely want to play this game over this game. In some cases, I didn't really know. And I had a Google flip the coin thing on another screen. So I just like Google decide a lot of these things. And in the end, it was Gears 4 up against Crackdown 3.
Oh my god!
Very end. This beat Uncharted. It beat Fire Emblem 3 Houses. It beat like Metroid boss mode. Like all these different things. I don't know why I need 64K to win the chat. I have no idea. But anyways, Gears 4 versus Crackdown 3. I couldn't decide, so I flipped the coin, and Gears 4 is what I'm playing right now, man. I even played some this morning. I looked through my achievements to see what achievements do I need, and I need to beat the game on Insane. Ryan, have you ever played Gears of War on Insane mode?
Yes, it's very, very difficult.
Speaking of,
one might say it's insane.
It is absolutely insane. I played for an hour and a half, and I haven't even got through the prologue. So nuts to that. We're going back down to casual. I just want to play this game. But Gears 4 is gorgeous, man. It is absolutely incredible. And I'm really looking forward to replaying this game. I don't think that I really loved it back when it first came out because it was such a different kind of experience from Gears 3 with the new characters and the future and all this other stuff. So I'm excited to go back, play with all the X enhancements, and that's kind of where I'm at with that, dude.
Plus, you're just ready to save the tomatoes all over again.
Oh, come on.
Tomatoes.
Well, last thing, speaking of... Oh, do you want to... Sorry.
I was just going to say, it could have been worse, Sean. You could have actually ended up with Crackdown 3, which is a game and a half.
Could be just fun. It was there for a reason. Like, I didn't flip the coin the entire time.
There for dumb fun.
Exactly.
But anything beyond that, you're not having a good time. But anyways, finish with your last thing.
Well, my third game is actually related to the tomatoes because it has to do with vegetation, Ryan. You may have seen this. For some reason, I fired up Lawnmower Simulator, available on Game Pass. Because apparently that day I hadn't done enough yard work. I had to play the video game, which actually tells you, it estimates how much time it's going to take you to do the job, which to me, like, I looked at that and went, like, okay, so I'm going to be just sitting, not really thinking about anything, going around for 15, 20 minutes at a time in this game.
Yep.
And that's basically it, dude. You sit on a lawnmower of your choosing. Do you want to mulch the clippings? Do you want to bag them? Do you want to have them shoot out the side? Like, what do you want, man? You got to choose. Don't do too much damage to that yard because you'll get ding, ding, ding on the fines. And what a game. What a game. You can start to hire people and stuff, dude. Very relaxing. The opposite of Cuphead.
What a time to be alive with that game. I mean, I think that's the perfect type of game for someone like me who lives in an apartment, Sean, because I don't have the glory of being able to mow my own lawn because I don't have a lawn.
I think it's good to go learn like the options out there. What kind of equipment do you need? What kind of trimmer, Ryan? What do you prefer? Definitely.
Yeah. It's just like, when I play a game like Gran Turismo, because I don't drive, but I get to learn so much about cars just by playing Gran Turismo.
That's right.
Just learning about lawnmowers from Lawnmowing Simulator. Available right now on Game Pass.
On Game Pass, yeah. I've got 4 achievements on that. That's probably going to be it for me until it comes back up as the winner on my next tournament bracket.
Of course it will. Well, man. As for me, honestly, my list is short because I haven't really been playing Xbox this week. My Xbox has been pretty much staying silent. It's been my moving watching machine this week, because I've been watching a bunch of horror movies and stuff like that because that's just who I am. But as far as games are concerned, I did replay The Quarry this week because I wanted to see the playthrough of murdering everybody. So, because I hadn't played that yet. So I did that this time around, really enjoyed that. And it was actually shorter to play through for the third time now, murdering everyone, because the game just becomes progressively shorter the more and more characters you lose. So I really enjoyed going back to that. Of course, I have a full review of it, so you don't need me to talk about more here. And I'm just knee-deep in Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. I was bouncing between this and AI the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, but I decided to buckle down and play one or the other at this point because as I've mentioned on previous shows before, I typically like to focus on one game at a time and not bounce between too many things, and especially too many narrative things like these two. So I wanted to play through Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. I'm not finished, but I'm almost done. I'm at the the very end of the Black Eagles campaign, and really been enjoying that as well. I'm also playing Overwatch 2's beta.
Damn.
Which I can't talk about yet.
Really?
But I can say I've been playing it. So we'll be able to talk about that in the future. But I will acknowledge that we'll talk about it a later date. I have been playing it.
Nice.
So yeah.
Well, I want to extend the invite to you and anybody listening. If you see me playing Gears 4, jump in. I'm going to be playing on casual, man. I'm not going to be messing around with that, but that would be fun to shoot some stuff with people. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's slam the brakes on this conversation, Sean, because it's time for some breaking news. And I was a little bit worried a couple days ago that there would be nothing for us to talk about. There's so much stuff here.
Nice.
List, but I don't know if we're going to have time to go through everything, but there's lots of stuff to talk about. Starting with Halo Infinite's co-op campaign beta. It arrives next week, starting on July 11th, and runs until July 22nd. It's open to anyone who actually owns Halo Infinite's campaign or subscribes to Game Pass. You just have to have the campaign access in some way in order to access this beta. But everyone's open to this. To sign up, you just need to opt in to the beta program over on Halo Waypoint's website, which if you did during the previous Halo Infinite beta, like the original one when it came out, then you won't need to do this again. You're already opted in at this point. You just need to go to the Xbox Insider website the Xbox Insider app on your console when the test flight's on July 11th, and then the Halo Infinite co-op beta will be right there to download and play. So I'm actually thinking about jumping back into Halo next week, Sean. Maybe so we can talk about it, but also just I'm really interested to see what the campaign's going to play like in co-op. But what about you, man? Are you excited to jump back into this at all?
I am excited to see it. I need to kind of parse this out a little bit because I am excited that this is a thing. That means that we're getting that much closer to it being real. I'm a little torn because I don't think that any of the access or any of the progress here carries on over into your main game. I don't think that there's any achievements really related to this. So for some reason, I seem to be back on achievement hunting. Man, that seems to be kind of top of mind for me. But to your point, I would like to at least discover what it's like and maybe talk about it a little bit on the show. I don't know that it means an entire playthrough, but maybe a session or two or something like that and see how it goes. But yeah,
well, that's what I was thinking too, for the same reason. At this point, because we don't get the progress carryover, or it's not the full thing here anyway. It's I'd at least want to try it out and see what the experience is like, and if it's fun and if it's worth putting time into. When it actually releases next month. But I do like that they're doing this beta for it.
Yeah.
And that it's open to everyone. So I definitely want to try it out for at least a little bit. But
yeah.
Well, moving on. As of October 1st, they sent out an email about this apparently, but Games with Gold will no longer include Xbox 360 titles in every monthly drop. In an email sent to subscribers earlier this week, Microsoft stated this is due to a limit being reached for games that they can license for Games with Gold, because they've given away, I think,
all of them,
3/4 of the Xbox 360 library at some point. Almost everything on back compat has been given away at some point, except for the last batch of back compat games, like 50 Cent Blood on the Sand, for example.
Not one of those bring it back, man. Bring it back. Is that something that they said, or is that something that you just know because you're smart?
I just know that 50 Cent Blood in the Sand hasn't come.
No, the percentage, the 3/4, is that is that close to?
Oh, I don't know what to do it. They didn't say that, but I researched that.
I feel they should have said that.
Yeah, they should have. It's almost the entire back compat library. It's kind of ridiculous. And almost every original Xbox game too has been Games with Gold at some point too.
That's crazy, man. That's how you come on, man. How do you? We could do this messaging for them. You know what I'm saying? We could actually do if you're gonna have a bad news bears kind of message, what else are you gonna pretty that up with? Either you can look forward to newer games coming from Xbox One, which I think is kind of what they alluded to, or just so you know, this is the culmination of this program. To your point, 75% of the games that we could have given have been given away at some point. I think that that's something to celebrate, and that's a big deal. And I'm trying to remember, man, talk about fuzzy memory. Who did it first? Was Games with Gold first, or was it PlayStation Plus that was giving away free games?
It was PlayStation Plus, I believe, because that was all that PlayStation Plus was at the beginning. Was just
that's right,
nothing else.
Oh,
because
that's awesome.
It wasn't multiplayer. So whereas, Xbox Live has been around forever with Gold, but it was they only give you the multiplayer, and it wasn't until like the tail end of the 360 era that they finally started to give you games for it.
Court backs you up with the fact checking in the chat. Yeah, that's it. I mean, the other thing too is though, like, does it feel like the 360 is closer in history than it actually is? Like, this news shouldn't really be, I feel like it shouldn't even really be a thing. That was 2 console generations ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've been giving away 360 games for about 10 years now.
That's crazy.
Like one a month for 10 years. Like, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of Xbox. Or sorry, it's actually 2 a month. I corrected myself there because it's been 2 360 games every single month for 10 years. Like, at that point, again,
that's insane.
Run through the library.
10 years of giving games away. Is that for real? I'm feeling very old here.
I think it was 2012, 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
Is Games with Gold. Holy crap.
We're in 2022 right now, Sean. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The end is near.
So, yeah, we knew that this was inevitable at this point. And I'm glad they gave us early notice, too, because it's not like it's happening, this month's
it's
Games
good.
with Gold is the last one. It's October 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that this is, it's news we were going to get at some point. And, yeah, like, hopefully this means they can focus on maybe newer titles. And then speaking about that, we got a question from the audience, Sean.
Oh.
After many people told us not to ask questions this week because you had made an absurd promise about a certain someone over here, Sean, that I didn't agree to.
I don't know what I was doing, man.
We're not going to dwell on that here.
Okay.
We're not going to dwell on that. We're going to move on. We're going to move to Blaze Knight's question, who asks, how would you guys revamp the Games with Gold reward system model to be more competitive / noteworthy in the eyes of consumers? And that's the thing, Blaze Knight. It really just depends on what, and I think we had a similar discussion like this before, but it almost depends on what the long-term goal is for Games with Gold. Because honestly, if the goal eventually is to push everyone into Game Pass and to hit that whatever mythical number Microsoft is targeting internally to, switch everyone over to once Game Pass reaches a certain threshold, they can get rid of, Xbox Live Gold for multiplayer. Then why else would they what need is there to juice up this service if the long-term plan is for this service to not exist and to have everyone on Game Pass? So it really just depends, because I don't really think they're like, even though they said that this will allow them to focus on more games, I don't really think they're going to add any more games to Games with Gold every month. I think we're going to get 2 Xbox One or Series X games every single month, and that'll be that. And it just seems like more of an afterthought at this point. It's part of the reason why we don't really talk about it.
We don't even report on it
on the show at this point. So, I mean, as far as if I thought the long-term goal was for this to be a mainstay, then yes, absolutely. What you would do, what I would want to see them do, is have it so you get 2 Series X titles every month and 2 Xbox One titles every month, just like what happened when the Xbox One came out and they switched over to having Xbox One games in Games with Gold every month. Like, I'd love to see something like that, but I think the long-term play for them is not to do that, which is why I think the best thing would be for this to just slowly fade into the background until eventually they dissolve it with the multiplayer subscription and just everyone just pays for Game Pass. But what do you think, Sean?
I don't disagree with most of what you said. I'm going to expand a little bit and just jump over to PC, actually, to say I'd actually like to see them do something kind of like what the Epic Store does, which is like one surprise free game in whatever. Like, I don't even know if I don't pay enough attention to Epic to know if it's like on a regular cadence or if it's just kind of random. But like, I would like to see them do that more on PC and maybe even on consoles as well, more of a surprise kind of thing. Like, stay tuned. There's a little gift coming for you if you're subscribed to this, and you can go ahead and go open it. I do think, like, originally when this program, and now that you mentioned PlayStation doing it, I remember praising them for it, because what they were really trying to do back then was change people's behaviors, which was, instead of buying games in a store, to buy games on the digital storefront. And so people were really, I think, upset back then as far as having to go in and actually go buy or like click on the same stuff. They didn't just like add it to your library, like the U2 album that iTunes did way back in the day.
Yep. Oh my God.
Wasn't about actually providing you with a game. It was about like getting you behaviorally understanding where to go get your games, and that this is like super convenient. That's what that was all about. And so for PC, I think it would show a little bit of love there, getting people to that storefront, whatever the heck they're even calling that at this point. But yeah, I think just if not completely obliterating it so they can focus on Game Pass, just updating to the next console, and then, a little love on PC I think would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, like actually, a PC is actually a really good angle, like if they would do that. But I think they can do that without even having to add that to Games with Gold every month. I think they can just give away a PC game.
That's what that's kind of what I'm thinking, because in order to really play on PC, you either have to have like a specific kind of Game Pass for PC, or Game Pass Ultimate, which includes Xbox Live Gold. So,
like something like that, last month how they were giving away Tell Me Why. Like, what if they did something like that every month, where they just had like a random game they just game out, whether it's a first party game or whatever game they get licensed to. And I think that would be a better solution rather than you having a subscription dedicated to that.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. You don't even have to have necessarily a subscription. Just be on the platform. Because that really is what Epic does. You don't have to subscribe to Epic at all.
Because that's why Epic does that. So then they get you into the Epic ecosystem. It's
exactly the connection I'm making. Exactly. Yeah. Get you like at least opening the app and kind of seeing what else is there. Because otherwise,
you're like, oh, look at these other games I could buy.
And look at all these great sales. They have good sales there too.
Yeah, I got my copy of Alien Isolation for free, and look,
yes,
Romance of the Three Kingdoms 7 is on sale for $3.
I'm totally opening up Epic right now. It might pop up on screen. We'll see. We'll see what.
Well, while you open the Epic store, Sean, let's move on.
Your face.
Let's talk about Game Pass games, because guess what, Sean? There's lots of Game Pass games coming out this month. So buckle in. Let's read them off. And all the first 4 games are available today. We've got Last Call BBS on the PC, and then 3 Yakuza games return to the service. These were on Game Pass before, got removed, and then now they're all back. So Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami, and Yakuza Kiwami 2. Once again, now we have all of the Yakuza games back on Game Pass. So they all got relisted. And then on July 7th, we're getting a bunch of stuff, including DJ Max Respect 5, Matchpoint Tennis Championships, and Road 96. And then on July 14th, we're getting Escape Academy, My Friend Peppa Pig, Overwhelm on PC, Paw Patrol the Movie Adventure City Calls, and Sean's favorite game in the whole wide world, Power Wash Simulator from Square Enix. Right there. Let me tell you what.
I might have to fire that up, actually.
I kind of figured that was for you.
I might have to. There is something satisfying about Lawnmower Simulator, of having the long grass, and it's like, we would like this grass to be specifically 6 centimeters long, right? And don't overdo your engine. My goodness gracious. You got to take care of that equipment.
Also, I forgot to mention, too, it wasn't in the article, but on July 19th, we're also getting As Dusk Falls. I was reminded about that because the full game pre-installed for me this morning, so it's like 50 gigs.
Same here, yeah.
But I'm ready for that game, Sean.
That is a mistake for this post, which I'm looking at on Twitter over here, for it to just show what you just listed off, and for it to not have this new game is a mistake, I think. Even if we've already known about it.
Put it in like 2-week chunks. I think that's why they did it this way, because they only wanted to talk about what's up until the 15th, I think, in this one.
Yeah, so you're 4 days out. I don't know, man. You're probably right, but like this is like the problem with some of this like rigid rule messaging. Like, just look at I don't know, man. Maybe somebody looks at that spread of all these games and goes like, cool, that's great. I'm not one of those people. I don't look at that and go like, thank God I have Game Pass, because like that looks amazing. Like, that does not, I'm sorry. That does not look amazing. There's a lot of smaller
titles at this point. And
which is
the
fine.
Biggest one is As Dusk Falls which is in
totally. Totally. Like, and like, this is where like you maybe bend the rule. If it was, we're only talking until the 15th, maybe just go like, and also 4 days after this, kind of our big deal for July. That's the one people should be excited about.
The very first Microsoft first-party published game this year, Sean.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I guess so, yeah, if you don't count like the DLC for Top Gun, because certainly Fantasy Critic doesn't.
Yeah, that's not even a real game. That's just, DLC. Whereas, As Dusk Falls, it's a real game.
What did Tom Cruise ever do to them,
Lots of stuff. But
apparently.
We got, although this didn't excite you, Buck at Bucklepuff on Twitter was excited about this because he asked the question, have both of you cleared your schedules for July 14th in order to play My Friend Peppa Pig when it drops into Game Pass? I know Court Lalonde also talks big game about My Friend Peppa Pig as well, especially for achievements, because I think the achievements are actually really easy in that game, Sean. So if you want, cheap, easy achievements, go play that game. Buck, I'm sorry, I will not be playing it. Even though I like achievements, I've got other stuff to play, especially because, like, I have to finish the games I'm playing now before, As Dusk Falls comes out on the 19th, and then Live Alive, and then Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Like, oh my god.
I got 64 other games, Ryan, to get to. I will say, because I am kind of being maybe a little hyperbolic about any of this, I don't know anything about Respect. What is that called? Respect V?
Yeah, Respect V.
I don't know anything about Road 96. I don't know anything about Escape Academy. Those look like I could discover that those are interesting games. And that's kind of the magic of Game Pass. Sometimes you don't always know what the games are going to be. So and that's kind of all part of it. So I actually want to hold out on a couple of those things. But Peppa Pig is, I mean, some of these are just maybe because kids are home for the summer. Maybe that's the point here.
I think some of the, like if you were, if you were a parent, Sean, you'd probably be
if I was a parent.
Because
if I was a real parent.
But I feel like some of these are kids games. Like I could imagine Lincoln probably getting into some of this stuff.
We don't have any Peppa Pig, but you're right. It could be a little something there. I'm curious what Donnie Reese thinks about this.
A little bit. I mean, that also reminds me of what used to happen where people used to complain all the time when we'd get the PlayStation 1 classics on PSN, and half the time they'd be like a bunch of Toy Story games or, Hercules on the PlayStation 1, and people were like, why are these coming to the store? And the reason was Disney put out there like, oh, families buy all these PlayStation 1 classics because they buy them for their kids. So I think it's like some of the same, reasoning here with some of this stuff. But moving on, we got to move on to the games that are leaving Game Pass on July 15th. So play them now while you still have a chance. And I think some of the better games are actually the ones leaving, John, because we got Atomic Crops, Carrion, which I know you really liked last year.
Yep, pretty good.
Children of Morta, Chris Tales, which was that RPG that came out last summer that I enjoyed, and then Lethal League Blaze. So play them now before they leave Game Pass on the 15th, or pick them up now on sale if you want to grab them.
Yeah, not a devastating list. I will, and I've said this every time we get a new list of games that is kind of underwhelming. I wish Game Pass, they do a pretty good job of selling us on Game Pass, but like it's only in the moments when they announce what's coming to Game Pass. We don't get enough of, hey, this game is on Game Pass and it's amazing. And yeah, it's a year old, but like, I mean, Gears 4 is a good example of this. Like, it's there and it's amazing. And what Forza games are on there? And what other things have been on there for a long time that you're not going to get an announcement anymore? I don't know. I know some people might go, we already know this isn't news. But like, they are selling a service. So I think that could be a little something. Maybe it's something we should do.
We should maybe do that.
We get a question every once in a while, like, what's the best hidden gem on Game Pass and things like that. So we could do
I feel like maybe we do like an extra mile on that at some point.
I love it.
And I already know two very perfect people to ask to be on that.
Donnie Reese is in the chat, and I'd love to, I mean, if he wasn't one of those two, there you go.
That's one of them.
He shouts out The Medium is a great example of that.
That's a good example. But moving on, Sean, we didn't have a Ubisoft Forward at all this year, believe it or not. But we finally have one announced. It's coming September 10th. They're going to be announcing all kinds of new stuff at Ubisoft Forward, as well as showing us looks at games that are currently in development. But we also learned on July 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's tomorrow, Sean, we're getting a in-depth look at Skull and Bones, that game that we all thought was canceled, the pirate Assassin's Creed game that we thought was canceled, but is actually apparently coming out at some point. We've been hearing that it might actually come out this year, it might not, but I'm excited to see more, even though I don't care about pirates, because I like the ship combat in the Assassin's Creed games, especially Odyssey. I really enjoyed that. So I'm excited to see more of what this game has to offer, even though, again, the pirate motif is a little bit of a turnoff for me.
Yeah.
But Sean, what do you think about both Ubisoft Forward happening, but also the Skull and Bones thing? Are you excited to watch this?
This might be an unpopular opinion, especially the way people talk about Ubisoft these days, but I have maintained for many, many years that Ubisoft is top tier publishing quality, man. These games that have come out of these studios are excellent. Everything from The Division all the way through Assassin's Creed, through like at least Watch Dogs 2 anyways. Lots of really good stuff. So I'm actually excited for maybe even like a return to greatness for Ubisoft, because it hasn't been a phenomenal couple of years for this publisher, both as far as like people's perception of them. When other open world games come around, we have this weird comparison always to Ubisoft, and it always seems to be defaming them to some extent. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they've got up their sleeves here. I'm a little worried that maybe this has been in development hell and they're just trying to get it out. So who knows about that? But only time will tell, Ryan. I will Are we pirates? Is it definitely a pirate game, or are we just on boats?
It's called Skull and Bones, and it's a ship combat game. It's pirates, Sean.
Okay,
Definitely.
well then my excitement can only go so high. Right. Yeah. Sorry, Captain Logan, who's in the chat. Our freaking Sea of Thieves expert in the chat here with us. He says Ubisoft wants to make an Assassin's Creed live service style game. Also, Ubisoft shutting down people's multiplayer services. I think Assassin's Creed as a live service game sounds awesome. Like I'll re-say that. I think that's exactly where that series, and probably Far Cry 2, will end up going.
Although Captain Logan, what he's insinuating is there was a story this week about they're shutting down a lot of their Xbox 360 online services, because yes, I had mentioned this during the roundabout, Sean, that you could still play Assassin's Creed 2 online, or Assassin's Creed 2 online, or sorry, Brotherhood. That was the online one. And I remember finding a game with like 3 people and playing it, but it was so hard to find a game that it's just like, yeah, you're not going to be able to.
I don't like
shutting it off because someone's playing it.
Exactly. I don't like telling people what they're allowed and not allowed to get upset about or anything like that. But like, come on, man. Like it's 360. Like that's not even newsworthy. Come on, dude.
Yeah. There were a couple exceptions, I think, from Xbox One, but for the most part, it was their 360 games where they'd kept them all on this whole time.
Yeah. Donnie says Valhalla is a live service game. He's been playing it for 3 years now. So exactly, like the writing is on the wall. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, time to talk about JRPGs, Sean. It's time for the Ryan Turford show with these next
Good thing we saved time for this. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
We got 10 minutes. I'm going to run through them pretty quickly, but I'll tell you what I think. So we got Star Ocean: The Divine Force arriving on Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One on October 27th. This is a sci-fi JRPG set in like a far distant future, and there's planetary exploration in here. It's kind of like the Japanese take on, something like Mass Effect or like a space opera of some kind. I've liked the Star Ocean games in the past, but they've been kind of hit or miss. And this one, with the first trailer that we saw for it, looked really bad. But this new trailer that they showed this week, Sean, actually looks pretty good. I'm actually pretty excited about this one. But it's also notable too, because this is the first time that this series is coming back to Xbox since 360, because the only other Star Ocean game we got on Xbox was Star Ocean: The Last Hope, which was a timed exclusive for Xbox 360. So I'm so glad that the series is coming back. It's just more Square Enix games this fall, and one I was not expecting. So October 27th, same day as Call of Duty though, so I think it might get drowned out a little bit.
I'm so excited about Call of Duty.
Yeah. Moving on, speaking of Square Enix, the DioField Chronicle arrives on Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One on September 22nd. I also was not expecting this one because this was announced during the Sony State of Play, and it sounded like it was only coming to PlayStation, but apparently it's coming to Xbox and Switch. This was the real-time strategy game that when your units run up to the enemies, they then engage in turn-based battles. So similar to something like Tactics Ogre from Square Enix.
Nice.
There's also a collector's edition of this that comes with a board game of some kind that you can play, which is just weird to me, but game looks pretty cool too, and I'm excited to play this one on September 22nd on Xbox. So it might get drowned out because, again, September is pretty busy, but lots of Square Enix games this fall. And then finally, Sean, I put this one in big, bold capital letters, specifically as well. I'm glad I did because Donnie Reese is in the chat. It's official. Lollipop Chainsaw is getting a full remake and will release in 2023. Oh my God, John, I am so excited about this. I love the original Lollipop Chainsaw. We talked about that a few weeks ago when they made the announcement that the series was coming back in some way. But doing a full remake of this game sounds really awesome. Again, the original game, for those that aren't familiar with it, was a game made by Suda51. And it was kind of his take on a movie like Return of the Living Dead, which is like a kind of like a goofy zombie movie where the zombies talk, and it's very like 80s inspired and stuff. And you can go around and mow down zombies with chainsaws, and it's just a really goofy and funny game, and I just really have a soft spot for the original game. So I'm so glad it's getting a full remake, and people are going to finally be able to play it, and I'm stoked for this one. I can't wait to play this game next year at some point.
This means anything is possible. No, this means anything is possible. If Lollipop Chainsaw is getting a remaster, remake, whatever, then people can ask for anything at this point, Ryan.
That's true. Well, I also felt the same way when in PlayStation Land, we got the Valkyrie Elysium release date, and they're bringing back Valkyrie Profiles PSP version. So I'm like, man, if that happens, because I thought that series
If that happens, then Lollipop Chainsaw can happen.
The Lollipop Chainsaw can happen, but it also means it opens the door for Parasite Eve to happen one day.
Oh, let's go. Yes.
I would love that. But Anyways, let's let some of our friends into the car with us. It is time for the carpool. We're going to start with TPR, who has a question for me specifically. But Sean, feel free to chime in if you'd like to.
We'll see.
TPR asks, Ryan alluded to himself owning a digital-only PlayStation 5 on last episode. With Ryan as into game collecting as he is, it really surprised me when he said this. What made you steer towards the digital model of the PS5? So the thing is, I don't think I've talked about this on previous episodes before. As far as modern game collecting, I only collect physical editions of Switch games. The only PlayStation 4 and Xbox One physical games I ever had were sent to us for press reasons. So before we were getting codes, sometimes I would get a copy of Injustice 2 in the mail or something like that. So I have physical copies of those, but that's it. So, and the main reason for that being, you have to install everything from the disc anyways. So I don't really see a reason to keep the disc or why I'd want to collect them physically. Especially too, because I live in a cramped apartment, so I only have so much shelf space and I'd rather devote it to more retro stuff. The main reason though, as you can probably tell, I have a pretty big Switch collection. The reason I collect Switch games physically though, is because for most games, especially first party Nintendo games, you just play them right off the cartridge and most of them don't even have updates.
Yeah.
So at that point, it makes it's perfectly reasonable to have cartridges for those or collect those because there's a benefit to playing off the cartridge on Switch. Whereas, Xbox or PlayStation, I don't really feel that way. So that's why I opted for the digital PS5. Not on top of the fact that that was just all that was available at the time I was really looking for a PlayStation 5. So it just made perfect sense for me to go in that direction.
Well, and cheaper, it's actually pretty significantly less expensive. So there's that angle as well. Ryan, you just laid out every single bullet point that I've been screaming about for the last two E3 predictions. Why do we not have a digital Series X? Why are we paying $499? I know the Series S is a big deal, but man, that would be really nice to have whatever, $50, $75, even $100 off of a Series X power type of console. Because I don't have any discs for Series X and very, very few for One or 1X or whatever. There's only a couple, I don't know, would my Fear disc, that was also one of the 64 games. Could I play Fear if I put the disc in? Yeah.
It totally works. I have it.
So I don't know, man. I would much prefer a very similar setup to basically what I just did for my mother-in-law's laptop, which is her laptop doesn't have an optical drive, but I've got $25 external thing that I can plug in whenever I need to. That would be great because that's all it's more of a fringe case or it's just an edge case scenario. I don't need that disk drive in there all the time.
Yeah. Whereas I'm definitely the type of user that needs a disk drive, but to me it doesn't matter. And in fact, since I had to buy the Xbox with a disk drive anyways, that made it even easier to pick the digital version of PlayStation 5 because I as I mentioned, I like to watch a lot of Blu-rays, and I don't really like having a dedicated Blu-ray player. I'd rather just watch on one of my consoles. Yeah. So that's usually what I use my Series X for that. Yeah.
So. Well, just the fact that Game Pass is such a thing, it's so digitally established. Who is it? Blah 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 in the chat said he was still mad that he bought Mario Golf Super Rush digitally because he couldn't trade it in. And I agree. I'm in the exact same boat. But for Xbox, trading in games is not a thing because I don't buy games to trade in. All my games are on Game Pass or whatever. Everything is digital. So yes, this is I am once again asking for a Series X digital edition, please.
One day, Sean. When the chip shortage ends, I think we'll probably see that. In fact, I wouldn't have been surprised if we would have seen that already if it wasn't for the chip shortage.
Yeah.
At this point, but. Anyways, last question of the week comes to us from Todd Oxtra at Toxtra, who asked the question, what third-party / indie developers would you pick to bring remasters or remakes or a sequel to ignored Xbox, Bethesda, and Activision IPs? That's a good question. I unfortunately, I looked at this right before the show started, so I didn't even have a chance to think about this one. That's a good question. I think as far as internal ones, I've talked about it before. After playing Psychonauts 2, I wasn't confident about the idea of, a studio like Double Fine doing something like Banjo, but after playing Psychonauts 2, I really felt like that studio could probably make actually a really good Banjo game. Yeah. So that's one that I've talked about on the show before, and I think that would be good. Or the folks that did Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. I would love to see
Playtonic.
Playtonic. I would love to see their take on maybe what if we had a 2D platforming Psychonauts game. in the vein of something like, the Impossible Lair. I think stuff like that would be really cool.
Nice, man. Yeah, I mean, like we talked to, I can't remember, was it last week or the week before, Todd Howard discussing his plans for Fallout 5 will be after Elder Scrolls 6. Like, goodness gracious, this might be a preemptive, ignored franchise, but give In Exile Fallout and let them do like a traditional Fallout 1, Fallout 2 style, or even a remake, I think would be excellent on that front. Man, and as far as like outside, Yacht Club comes to mind as well. I feel like, man, Donnie Reese is so good at podcasting. He would totally crush this question, I think.
Yeah.
But I give Yacht Club like anything.
Another studio that'd be good for that is someone like Way Forward. I think they make really good 2D games, or even indie crates. I think they could do like something really interesting with, one of the old Rare IPs. Like, what if we got like a Perfect Dark 2D game to kind of hype up the 3D game that's the new, bigger Perfect Dark game coming in a few years. Like, I think stuff like that, exploring the space a little bit would be really interesting with some of these IPs, and not giving us like thinking outside of the box with some of that stuff would be really cool. But even someone like Annapurna, like one of the Annapurna studios, doing like a story-based version of like something like Fable or something like that, doing like a Fable stories, or something like Tales from the Borderlands, but it's Fable instead. Like, I think those are some ideas that you could throw out there. But anyway, Sean, we got to get going. But before we go, Sean, plugs go.
So abrupt. It's at the end. You can find me on Twitter and on Twitch. Sean like Connor, Capri like the pants, and buy our merch. I got this sweet merch. It feels good against my skin, and it'll feel good against your skin. So links are in the show notes, my friend. That's it. That's it for me.
Very nice, my friend. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You can also find me on the YouTube channel tomorrow night, making good on a little bet I made with Sean Capri. I will be playing Farming Simulator 22 tomorrow night after the PlayStation Drive. So come back and watch tomorrow as I suffer for 10 hours.
Watch you love it. I can't wait for you to just discover something. Your inner farmer, Ryan Turford.
Oh my God.
I hope you have a hat or something. Get like a big piece of straw hanging out of your mouth.
Well, then I wouldn't be able to wear my headphones, so that's the trade-off, I guess. But also, you can find us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming, on YouTube at youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, and on podcast services around the globe. So, for Sean Capri, I am Ryan Turford. This has been episode 248 of the Xbox Drive, and we out. Bye.
We gotta go.